Greetings to the members of the Clay Math Institute who are watching this video. My name is Charles CHUN. I am just a normal guy interested in everything, but in the pursuit of my passions and interests, I had stumbled upon the Millennium problems and had sent an email to the president at the time last year, just saying I was a Zeta Zero. This was just kind of me just stepping my foot into the water. He told me that, any of my works would need to be submitted through the science academia for review and critiques, which then I started really digging into the problems where the language that the actual problems are worded in is a language that I found kind of understanding in a different sense of my perception of the words that are being used to define and name these terms, quarks, and just the God particle. I am a man of God. I believe that I am here to save this world from falling under the cast of darkness. And when I say darkness, I am talking about the darkness within the light of the human consciousness. And I hope that you understand that I'm trying to really be consciously mindful of the terms that I'm going to be using in this video to just explain not a correction I found in the terms and conditions posted on the website, that everything other than a correction or some kind of new, again, this is just going off of memory, but just a new bit of light upon a current problem or answer. And so under that clause, I believe it was 5C. I will post it in an edit of this clip. But again, I have a YouTube channel I call chitchalkchat, or C cubed for short, which is direct relation to Einstein's magnificent equation E equals mc squared, which, again, chit is Sanskrit for consciousness, specifically just pure consciousness on the path towards Brahma, along with Sat, Chit, Ananda. These three essentially are a trinity amongst the Hindu religion to reach Brahma, the oneness. It's just all about oneness. And when I came upon a YouTube video that was revealing a letter that was written by Father Albert Einstein, but released the year before I was born, 1980, under the specific instructions to keep it secret and not be released until the public was ready to just accept. I mean, these are just words that were stated in the videos that I put, but the consistency, the constant was that he had written this specific letter, this letter to Lieser, Leiserl. His daughter, who, when I researched, supposedly died at a very young age. So when I hear like it was given to his daughter and she held it, these are just all verbiage that just kind of directs me to a different, if I were a dog chasing a different car. But again, I've just gone over this. I've insanely just focused my pure intention, just like the gentleman Raymond, the man who actually solved one of the was it the Poincare conjecture or the Raymond hypothesis with the Ricci flow, where essentially it's just, these dimensions, there are these holes, and then you got to fill these. I can't say that I'm very familiar, but I'm aware that these problems are the Yang-Mills mass gap, which is just there's the forces, gravitational forces, electromagnetic forces, weak forces, strong forces, photons, gravitons, quarks, just that model. Then we have the NP versus P, which, again, from the analogies that I've found, is always set up with the traveling salesman problem about if you're a salesman, you have 12 cities, and like, how do you visit all these in the shortest distance without visiting a city twice? It's just like, when I hear that problem, I just think, you teleconference. You don't leave your house. You can now, in today's age, this problem, this analogy does not, in my opinion, explain this, unless, that's an easily checkable problem, correct? With my solution right there. If I were to say, you set up web conferences in each state with whoever, like if that's like, you don't have to leave your house. This isn't a problem that needs to be solved this way. So for mathematicians who are really trying to crack this, I just feel that this is why it's important for me to just submit and just bring forth this discovery, I will call it, because again, once I made it, and I used to be a comedian, so as a comedian, whenever I'd write a joke, I just make sure, it hasn't been done. Being Asian, it'd be very easy, just, make sure no Asian comics. So I went through and just did my research on just anything and everything that's been said and discovered about this E equals MC squared, which is essentially, everybody says it was from Einstein's thought process, where he just went into a thought experiment of writing a beam of light and what that would be like, which offense, I mean nothing to discredit Father Einstein, but being a former addict, that's just, it's just like, wow, that sounds like somebody. I joke about just like, I don't know what exactly was in that pipe Father Einstein was smoking, but it just makes me love the man more. And again, I know a lot about the man behind it. I know Einstein's heart was good. I have a very close tie to Father Einstein, and I have a very strong belief that he transmitted this revelation to me, because ever since that, I've been just on my YouTube channel, just documenting my research data, is what I'm calling it, just for my own work, which I think may be a solution for all of this, because I asked myself when I looked at these millennium problems, like, what are these answers going to do for humanity if they are found? And essentially, it's all about algorithms. How are we going to use these algorithms in the quantum future? And I posted various comments where it's just, I in terms of quantum theory and all that stuff, I feel that I could consider myself a hobbyist of quantum physics and theory. And I put on my channel, and just, I'm also a chaplain, and I tell people who are going through this issue within their families about gender identity and stuff like that. Like my child, is talking about, oh, I want to try being this. And it's just, okay, well, don't freak out. Don't go attack the school board and label yourself a domestic terrorist. I see a clear light. I see what the governing institutions are doing. And I understand that humanity is gotta realize what's going on. It is a battle. It's almost like a biblical setup. And I feel that the American experiment was an experiment to set up a data set on if we can recreate the Messiah based on using the same formula the original Messiah used, where he said, I have to fulfill these prophecies to make this real. These all have to jive together for anyone to take me seriously and to save the world and to finish this, as he said, it is finished. But then, was it finished? Because Christ said he would come back and judge. And I've never been one to judge anyone, especially as a chaplain, but just riding this beam of light that I've been following, that has just been, for me, is why I feel it may be necessary for me to just kind of use this cryptic type of language just to perhaps give you a better sense that I'm more consciously aware than perhaps maybe you. This is, again, maybe me boasting, but a lot of the mathematicians who maybe come on trying to fix these or solve these problems. So before I let my ego get on board with that. Let me just show you the discovery just based on this. So I will jump onto this screen. So just off face value, from a child, I was told that energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. The speed of light, c, is a constant, so it's a known value, which from a mathematical understanding, that would mean that, okay, if we have the value for c, then anything has mass. I mean, this book has mass, this lighter has mass, I have a mass that can be calculated to fit this. So if I put my mass multiplied at the speed of light squared, essentially this formula is saying that would be the calculated value for the energy that I would have, right? I imagine myself as a kid again, just trying to look at this like, okay, yeah, I understand it mathematically. I get this. I can figure this out. But it wasn't until I was 3 decades older that if we're just going to look at just E equals mc squared, just look at that from a mathematical sense. We don't know any known values. What we know is this. Okay, so then this would tell us that, if we're trying to find the value for m, that would mean m equals E over c squared. And same speaking, c squared would equal E over m, which then, if we're trying to get a value for just c, a constant value, that would mean c is the square root over E and m, correct? Now, I don't know if that's how the speed of light, does that fit? I'm just kind of coming to a eureka moment, but the thing that I realized just, digging through Genesis, light, it's all about light. In Genesis, verse 2, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth, possibly E, was without form and void, a vacuum, perfect medium for any kind of space experiment or scientific experiment, correct? And darkness was on the face of the deep. A lot of visual rhetoric here. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Okay, so then this is where I was just like, wow, and then here, Genesis 1:3, then God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. So this is where God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. Evening and morning, I look at E and M. Evening and morning. And then C squared. So then I look at that. Okay, so if we're just going to say E is evening, M is morning. The evening is when the sun goes down, when the light is going out, and then when the light is the same light, but when the light comes back, we know that to be defined as the morning of a day in terms relative to light. Now, when Genesis says darkness, what does that mean? We talk about dark energy, dark matter. Again, here, energy, matter. What is that? That would essentially be negative values. So back to just this, essentially here, how do I want to explain this? The interesting thing that if we're going to look at this, is just, if we look back, okay, so evening would be, I guess, a minus, plus, and then afternoon would be, I guess, a neutral. So then, if we're just going to single out the evening and the morning, which we did, if you divide out M, evening over the morning, if you divide the evening and the morning, you get this, right? And then we square root this to get rid of that. Now, this is where I look at it. And obviously, if the square root of E over M is a negative number, this is it's an irrational, non-real integer value. But in the same speaking, if we aren't looking at this, we're just looking at the original, M equals E over this C squared. So then here, this C can be a positive or a negative number. And all of this would be, I guess, light energy. Well, what's the opposite of dark matter? Dark energy. Light matter? Light energy? I mean, so at first glance, it's just, yeah. But then until you start breaking down and trying to find the light, the C, and the book talks a lot about C's, But again, when you single this out, you see that the square root of E over M, I mean, essentially, if we're looking at, again, outside of the mathematical standpoint and applying it to the realm of quantum physics and just science, you can't, like, this is where I feel that just having the known variable that C is a constant value. Light travels at a speed of x times. Nothing travels at the speed of light. So if nothing travels at the speed of light, then it's just like, to me, when I heard that, then why is this so important? And then I hear that this was what ultimately it was the predecessor to the discovery of the mathematical discoveries that generated the creation of the A-bomb used in World War II, the exact time when Father Einstein came to this country, the United States. And from the research I did, he was deemed a threat to the project, the Manhattan Project, due to his heart, because he had a good heart, I guess, is how the wording and the story played out in my mind. It's just, he was just too good of a man to just let the project leaders do what needed to be done. I can't change that. I accept that. I know a lot of people will find that out and then start pointing fingers. I'm not like that. But when people are given that mass or that energy, then their light goes crazy scattered. And I came upon a study that, really focused on like what happens when light scatters. And I'll bring that into another time. But again, dark energy would have to mean it's the opposite of light. So I don't know if this helps towards just calculating this, but again, chitchalkchat, the C cubed. I feel that it's necessary to bring in another light, just like the introduction of the serpent in the Garden of Eden chapter of the Bible, where now we have man and woman, who we find out is called Eve. So again, just the relation to just all the symbols is why I feel that I am the answer to this part of human history. The timeline, 0 AD, the year of the Lord. Clearly that states that this happened. This man is real. Like, why would time just all of a sudden go from BC? So it's just, when I hear these arguments, I laughed, which is why I did comedy. But then, like I said, I went through a whole transconfiguration. And in this process, I can call it revelation of Jesus Christ. I can call it a eureka moment. I can call it whatever I need to call it to get people to understand the idea that I'm trying to convey to them, that they have no light, or they have a negative light that they're squaring with another negative light that's making it look like it's a positive light that they're traveling at, thinking. An analogy would just be, this Roe versus Wade argument in my country where women are, or everybody's just on this, like, women should have the choice. And it's just like, the other side is, but who's defending the unborn child? Like, you're killing a life. And it's just like, what are the lights? So one light, the Christ consciousness on this Christian side, if we're going to turn, is that yes, Jesus says, which he doesn't, that life begins at the womb, which he doesn't. Like the Bible says, God gave man the breath of life. How he breathed life into his nostrils. When a baby is born, he breathes air. That to me is the definition of life. If we're going to talk about fertilization, conception, these are all things that are listed in here. When Cain was born, Eve doesn't say, hey, I conceived a child. She said, I was appointed. Like the wording was just very, if I was a child, I would have been like, I have acquired a man from the Lord. And then they bore again and now have Abel. But then when they have Seth, it's a different kind of joy. So in the day that God created man, he created man, then male, mankind in the day they were created, and Adam, I begot a son. So it's just like the wording. We begot Seth, we acquired Cain, and this is where it's just like God punished Adam for his transgression by saying he will forever work the land for food and, sweat from just the labor. I'm paraphrasing, but when I got to the next chapter, it says I acquired, and then Cain is now the one who is punished. He is now living the punishment of essentially what Adam's doing. But again, being the firstborn, that's what I was born. The firstborn son was brought in to fulfill a specific purpose. So if Cain was brought in to take care of the duties that Adam was cursed for, then okay, then the terminology I have acquired a man. Which again, I've acquired a man. It's not even I've acquired a child, I've acquired a man. And this is where it's just the light that parents are casting upon their children. When a child comes up to a parent and just says like, hey, I'm a dinosaur. Like parents, there's commercials that say like, oh, that's so cute. There's no argument about that. There's no fear from that. But now all of a sudden when kids are just like, I want to be a boy or a girl, parents are freaking out. This is I don't know. I can't come up with something, but I hope this makes sense on the problem that I am discerning to the Clay Mathematics Institute. And again, coincidentally, I found out that there is a branch, another Clay Mathematics Institute here other than Massachusetts in my state of Colorado. I don't know if that's just coincidence, but again, if this is just any help or requires any kind of further explanation or research on my end just to help you guys. I just want to help us get out of this battle in the long run because again, from a biblical standpoint, I believe that there is already this in the form of the WEF. I'm not a conspiracy. I just see light. I see light. When I hear people say black and white now, I've trained my mind to think, okay, when somebody says white people, this person thinks that, oh, essentially I've trained my mind to just say they think that skin color means that you have some kind of light. It's just, you gotta get your mind in order with like the enlightenment that you receive. But again, in terms, and I will end on this, of the Searle letter, Einstein had said that he originally had substituted, he believed that God is love. Love is God. Being a Jew, that's probably a big thing to say. That's something that Jesus teaches. But he said that the scientific community wasn't ready to understand that. So he just simply plugged in E for gravity. God is gravity. Why? Because gravity attracts, love. God is love. Love attracts someone to another. Love attracts you to a passion. Like just the philosophical beauty of how that letter explained this is how I led to this. So again, this is not scripted. This is just, again, training, just improv here. So again, forgive my dress, forgive any kind of repetition or lack of the scientific method. Again, I'm just trying to self-teach myself. Whatever I love to learn, and just I would love to learn if when Einstein said that if we can all accept that the energy necessary to heal the world is love, then we'll have proven, like Luther, like the greatest thing. And it's just, when I heard that, I came back to the idea of just just love. God is just love. Like the Trinity is the love between the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit of the mother. Like, oh, your father's a good guy. I think of that because that's what my mother was like. Just even when my dad was in his alcoholic phase in life, she would always just say that this was something that adults deal with. She never just said your dad's evil or anything like that. So she always kept the Holy Spirit. And I've even brought this up to my Bible study groups when I attended my discipleship, and I told them, what if Jesus is actually saying Father in reference to Joseph of Nazareth, the carpenter, who was the direct bloodline of King David, who in prophecy had to be the one who begets the Messiah for the chosen people, the Jews. I don't want to go into some anti-Semitic rant here, but again, Einstein fleeing from this, being a Jew, just, I imagine him in this Manhattan Project, like, the energy we need is love. Like, if we all focus our energy on trying to just be love. I don't know if that's how it went. That's the thought experiment I put myself into when I say, what was it like when I put myself in Einstein's body writing this lecture in front of the Manhattan Project? So when I said, if we can accept that the energy necessary to heal the world, so we have a goal, we're trying to heal the world. What kind of energy? There's all this talk about energy, nuclear energy, a new clear energy source, not a nuclear like a weapon, but I hear that like, yes, clean energy is a new clear energy source. a nuclear superpower. Yes, if China is the one who's leading in renewable energy technology, then yes, they are going to be a nuclear superpower. But the people in my country, the politicians who have this dark light and hear that, or just, again, chitchalkchat is just breaking down each individual's third light. Like, where is this? And I bring that light in to make this possible for my purposes. But again, when I said that the energy necessary, or when Father Einstein said that, I just said, okay, so then if we factor out energy, like, if we take energy and divide it on both sides, that's 1. So 1 equals if we can just focus all of our squared light multiplied by our masses and just divide our energy into 1 focus, that is how we will reach the next phase in human evolution, which I can only hypothesize that this is what all these millennium problems are trying to take our species to, is the next evolution. So again, perhaps this is just ridiculous and already known, but I just had to just get it out here to you guys for review and guidance. Am I onto something? Should I focus on something else? That would be a huge help on essentially how I live my life. But again, I appreciate just the principles and just the institution itself that you guys represent, and what I believe and have faith that this is all working towards. So again, my name is Charles Peng, 40 years old, born on November 5th, 1981. Remember, the 5th of November. I'm going to be, running for president in the 2024 election. This is my mindset. So focus on these millennium problems and trying to solve this. And then moving on to that venture. I hope that just helps you understand why I ask, just for some kind of response back to this message, even though it may not be the conventional. Again, I'm using the loophole of the article, which I will post in the email, but this video is unlisted. Only people who have this link will be able to watch it, so that would be me and you and whoever your faculty board shares it with. So I will be able to keep track of who's watching and who isn't. So please just reach out to me and just tell me if I'm crazy or if I'm on to something, or just if this is of any help to mankind in any way. Because, if it wasn't, then I would kind of feel a little like I wasted maybe time. But again, it doesn't matter, because from the light that I've seen, just from what I've shared here, there's plenty more I have to show you guys. But just I wanted to give you a sneak preview to give me an exact. We're all in this entanglement. I need to know where my superposition is when I reveal the cup. I have this. I know where I'm at in this cup. I just need someone to lift up the cup and tell me, am I right? Am I wrong? Am I completely not in the position to say what I'm saying? So again, I choose my words carefully, and I hope that you all can understand that without too much judgment, I guess. So thank you. I hope that the land of the United Kingdom is doing well and sitting under the light of Her Majesty, the late Queen Elizabeth, who I know did an amazing job. She was a model example of what the light of a leader should be. It's just, I just sit and observe, so again, it was a sad day, but again, it is a new step. The reign of King Charles III, me trying to be President Charles, the 44th president, or 45th. It's just all these coincidences. I've just always followed these patterns. And so if you guys don't understand what I'm trying to convey and who I am, then that just tells me that I gotta go to a different source, the next source. So I'm just being transparent with you guys. I know it sounds crazy, but everybody sounds normal to me. That doesn't sound like this. But again, when I was listening to the language that science and all this stuff is put in, it doesn't seem too out of my wheelhouse anymore. And this is where I'm asking if I need a chitchalkchat. Do I need to map out my consciousness through my conversations with people? So that's what I try to do, is just map out people's consciousness, show them where their lights are, between their egos. The three lights. The ego is in the middle, it's the mediator, and then you got the id and the superego. These are the ones in battle, and the ego is trying to sit here like, this is what we're going to do. I hear you both. But everybody older than my generation, not 81, I'm a millennial, generation Y, so X and below, are under this knowledge that ego is a bad thing. They admittedly, openly tell me I don't have an ego, as if that was a good thing, So it's just, this is where, just because we can't travel at the speed of light doesn't mean that this equation doesn't matter. So this is what I try to teach the young children about this. So I hope that that's at least okay with the scientific community. So again, I look forward to just the next progression, that your great land will help my great land and all the great lands just work towards one mass light squared over our energy to get us to the next phase, which has to be interplanetary. I hope that we're like terraforming some other planet in the background of all of this, just in case. But just all these discoveries in the James Webb Telescope, just there's a lot of stuff telling me like I've got to come out and make myself known. So thank you for listening.